top needs for the Giants in the 2020 NFL Draft: linebacker, O-line, safety, tight end, wide receiver, which I don't know. There are a lot of people that think that we should have got a tight end and receiver. And honestly, I'm surprised that we didn't get a receiver. I had Chase Claypool going to us in the third round. I thought that would have been a great value pick. He's got like a 6.34 grade or something like that. Big, tall guy, physical. Something that type of receiver that they've been missing since Plax and Toomer. And I think the Steelers ended up getting him. So that stunk. And it's such a deep draft for receivers that I was like, all right, well, we don't have to draft a receiver in the first, second, or even third round. We can get a quality, pick, wide receiver pick in like the 5th, 6th, and 7th. And most of those guys are projected to be a 3rd or 4th round pick. So for them not to address the wide receiver position at all was pretty interesting, considering the fact that we had such a rough time and go of it last year with Coleman going out with the ACL, Tate being suspended 4 games for PEDs, Shepard's concussions. Very interesting that they did not go wide receiver. And I think that shows you what the game plan is going into 2020. We are going to run the football. And we're going to be so good at running the football that we don't have to rely on the passing game. And we don't have to have Jones drop back 40 times a game or even 30 times a game. I think the goal for him is 20 to 29 dropbacks per game, which means Saquon will probably get at least 20 carries per game, hopefully 20, maybe 25. And they're like kind of going back to, I mean, I've been watching a lot of classic 80s Giants games and even like the 90 NFC Championship game that I'm watching now. And it's run the football, and then take your shots in the passing game here or there. Pick up third downs through the air when possible, but not like once in a while go for a deep shot, but not, anything crazy down the field. And just have your defense stack up on defense is exactly what they've done. Vince Rappisardi said in a tweet, like, you look at, and they kept showing this fucking graphic during the draft. We have the worst record over the past 3 years, 27, 18, 19. We have the worst record. The 1 year we made the playoffs in 2016, our defense was number 2 in scoring, DVOA, whatever the hell that is. And that's what we have to get back to if we want to have a realistic shot. And that's why 07 and 11 were such kind of, I don't want to say flukes, but it's like our defense was not top of the line in 07 and 11 by any means. And, I don't even think we had a really that great a running game either, which is a testament to Eli yet again. But no, he's not a Hall of Famer. Go F yourself. So looking at round 1, Burrow to Cincinnati, Young to Washington, Okuda to Detroit. And that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's why the Giants weren't able to trade down at all. Because why would Miami or the Chargers trade with the Giants unless the Chargers had their eyes set? Like, the Chargers must have been like, you know what, we're good with either Tua or Herbert. We can roll with either one. So the only teams I think that would really want to trade up, possibly Jacksonville, maybe Cleveland or the Jets. Atlanta, maybe. I don't know. I mean, considering Miami had another pick at 18, I think the Raiders had a bad draft. Yikes. They picked like all Clemson people. So yeah, we went with Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle from Georgia. And if I'm being honest, that was not the tackle that I thought we would select. if we went tackle at 4, or even if we traded down. I thought of the 4 that were being mentioned, Wills, Becton, Wirfs, Thomas. I was like, oh, Thomas is 4 out of those 4. So if we have the first pick of the litter to go with Thomas, I think a lot of people were like, wait, what? Because there wasn't the hype behind Thomas that there was with Wills, Becton, or Wirfs. I mean, Wills had the highest grade. Becton is a fucking monster. Holy shit. I remember watching when he got scooped up by the Jets, watching like his highlight reel, and he was just like literally eating people on the field just in one gulp, like a fucking shark, and just like mauling people and pancakes everywhere. It was like a fireman's breakfast, pancake breakfast. I mean, pancakes everywhere, fucking IHOP. And then the Giants select Thomas, and they showed Thomas's tape, and you're like, meh. Like it didn't slap the same way. It didn't hit the same way that Becton did. And so, there was a little knee-jerk reaction, instant regret. Like, oh, fuck, what are we doing? Why do we go with Thomas, blah, blah. But the more I've dug into this and the more I find out about Thomas, the more I love this pick. The more I hear from experts all around. I mean, the Giants initially got an NFL a grade of a B for this, so it's good. But I think it ultimately is going to be an A. I'm telling you, I think of the 4 linemen, the top tackles that were being projected, Wills is going to be a right tackle for the rest of his life. Becton, big, monstrous dude, but will that translate into being able to handle the NFL? And then Wirfs, who probably will move to guard. Meanwhile, Thomas has played both right tackle and left tackle and has gone up against some of the best pass rushers in the SEC and all of college football. There's tape of him controlling Chase Young. Chase Young did not beat him. So he's able to contain Chase Young, which is huge because Chase Young is now going to line up with him 2 games a year for the next 4 years at least. He also handled Josh Allen, who Gettleman was high on. Kentucky pass rusher who went to the Jags. So you're talking about 2 elite pass rushers with like all pro grades as prospects. I don't know if you could hear that, but that's some serious flatulence. And it looks like, we got a pretty good one. He was awarded the best gap/man scheme blocker among all offensive linemen in the draft. He received a 91.3 run block grade, an 89 pass block grade, 5 sacks allowed in his entire 3-year college career, and only 25 pressures. And he hasn't allowed more than 2 pressures in a game since 2017. I mean, that's like as dependable as it gets. That's like the planet Earth dependable. I was thinking about this today. I think about this at least once a week. The Earth keeps spinning in space. Infinite fucking space. Cold, dark, no one can hear you scream, space. It has been spinning and rotating on the axis for, I can't even put a number on it. Trillions of years, billions of years, I don't know. Not one little hiccup. Not like, never had an off day, never called in sick. Planet Earth, folks. I mean, that was huge. I mean, we just had Earth Day like last week, like shout out Earth. And I think Andrew Thomas is the offensive lineman version of Planet Earth. He's not going to go off his axis. Day in and day out, you wake up and know, wow, Earth, keep doing its thing. I mean, if Earth just stopped working for a second, we just fly off into space and die instantly. Does that bother anyone else? I get into these like Sunday scaries, and that's the biggest Sunday scary for me. Death obviously is huge, but planet Earth just like deciding not to do its job. All right. Mike Renner, lead draft analyst at Pro Football Focus, said Andrew Thomas started as a true freshman at right tackle in the SEC and only allowed 17 pressures on 351 pass blocking snaps. The fact that he was so good already without any real college coaching is a big reason why he was PFF's #1 offensive tackle. Tom Rock of Newsday said Lorenzo Carter, a former Georgia Bulldog, told me a few months ago that when Andrew Thomas showed up on campus at UGA as a freshman and a starter, he and the rest of the edge rushers tried to put him, he, meaning Carter, and the rest of the edge rushers at Georgia tried to put Andrew Thomas in his place in practice, and they quickly learned that Thomas was the real deal Holyfield, which, given Carter's lack of production in the NFL is not like a huge endorsement, but still, it's good to hear. Ian Rappaport said, had the Dolphins traded up for an O tackle, the pick would have been Georgia OT Andrew Thomas. Instead, he goes #4, and Miami has its choice of quarterbacks, Tua or Herbert. Daniel Jones had zero poker face on the Draftathon live stream when Andrew Thomas' pick was announced. Yeah, I actually watched that back, and he was all ear to ear, my man. Grin Central, Grin City. He loved the pick, and it's easy to see why. Because the highlight reel that they showed on draft day stunk. Not stunk, but it was like not impressive like Becton's. But the more video I watch, the more tweets I see, yeah, he's just like solid. And I remember reading that he's the most pro ready of the 4 tackles. And so I kind of kept repeating myself that mantra, like most pro ready, day one starter. And that helped me. But then the more I'm seeing, the more I'm reading, it's like, fucking nailed it. Art Stapleton, NJ.com, said Andrew Thomas was considered the best left tackle during last college football season. He didn't blow up the combine either, but Joe Judge says he trusted the tape and got honest evaluations from all his contacts at UGA, Iowa, and Alabama. So Joe Judge does his fucking homework and his research. And you best believe that he was a major influence on this draft. And, for all the talk that Gettleman has about hog mollies, I mean, he didn't really go all hog molly-ish on us in 18 and 19. Yeah, we got Hernandez, who's been great or good. But he, and I'd have to look at the draft classes of 18 and 19 again. But he didn't really go out and get a bunch of hog mollies like he did in this draft. And I have to believe that's due in part to Joe Judge's influence. By the way, how about Matt Rule going all defense in his draft? Not one single offensive player, which I think has not been done in a long time. So, I think he gets it, and I think the Judge and Gettleman are on the same page. Thomas was a freshman All-American. Sophomore year, he was second-team AP All-American, first-team All-SEC. Junior year, he was first-team AP All-American and first-team All-Conference. He's been described as a gritty player, day one starter, comes in well-coached and technically savvy. So I think we got a good one. And, Judge has already said, like, he's got that swing tackle versatility. So they probably feel very confident plugging him in at right tackle. But I would not be shocked, not one bit, if he ends up being the starting left tackle and they move Solder to the right tackle. I mean, he said it's going to be competitive. We're going to come in and compete, and we're going to push people and see what they've got, and we're going to make the best decision. And so I think you probably end up seeing Solder move to right tackle and Thomas the left tackle. And then you have Fleming backing them up either side in case one gets injured. And then you have another draft pick coming down the line in round 3, which I'll talk about in a little bit, who will help out as well. So round 2, we have the 36th pick, and we got a little Landon Collins deja vu with our selection. Safety, Alabama, Xavier McKinney. That's not round 1. He had a prospect grade of 6.38. So Andrew Thomas's prospect grade was 6.49. So he was like a hair below like plug and play. I think 6.5 or something, some kind of nonsense is like the threshold for being a day one starter. And instead, he's kind of lumped in with McKinney, who had a 6.38, which means that he will be a starter within his first 2 seasons, which we can all, I mean, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that both these guys are going to start day one, I think. McKinney's 6 foot 201. His junior year, he was 3rd-team AP All-American, 1st-team All-Conference, split time equally. And so this is where a lot of people were saying that he's basically like Isaiah Simmons light. So not as athletically gifted as Isaiah Simmons. He's not as tall, not as fast, but he basically did all the same things that Isaiah Simmons did. He split time equally in the slot, free safety, in the box, and a very versatile matchup safety. So he can go against the running back, he can go against a tight end, and he's going to do the job. He has a high football IQ, which is a running theme with all these picks. It seems to be a strength with each of these picks, high football IQ. And I think that's due to Joe Judge's influence. I think that's like what he looks for. He wants high football IQ. You don't have to be the fastest, strongest, blah, blah, which I fucking love. And that sounds very Belichick-ish, for being real. And then this was a tweet from someone, I forgot to mention the source, but they said, you aren't penciling McKinney in at the free safety. We aren't going to play a lot of single high with this roster, unless it's Love or Peppers. But I can see cover 3. So you have Love, Peppers, and McKinney on the field, all as kind of safety-ish type players. And then you have Bradbury and Baker press, which I do like that. The old Tampa 3, I think it is. Probably wrong about that. McKinney put out a video just saying, hey, thanks, Giants fans. You know, kind of like his introductory video talking to Giants fans. And he looked exactly like the dude from Good Burger. And so I tweeted out like, hello, welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? 0 likes, 0 retweets, 0 engagement. Why do I do what I do? It's a great question. Can't stop, won't stop. So I'm very excited about that pick. I think it's great. He was, I remember, I think it was one of the Giants websites, Big Blue United? Maybe. They were very high on McKinney before the round even started. And they were like, if we can get this guy, he's the best safety in the draft, and we'll be thrilled. And knowing that he's the best safety in the draft and we got him, you got to feel a lot better about our secondary. Just Bradbury and McKinney alone, those 2 additions make your secondary better than they were last year. So far so good. I think that, 2 for 2. I think everyone can agree that like even though we didn't trade down like we had hoped, we didn't get Simmons like a lot of us hoped. This is like the next best thing. It was the best possible scenario if we weren't able to get Simmons or trade down. Round 3, and this is where, I mentioned it earlier. Matt Peart, offensive tackle, UConn Huskies. He had a prospect grade of 6.14, which is equivalent to a good backup who could become a starter. 6'7", 318. His 36 and 5/8 inch arms were the longest of all offensive linemen in the combine, and that's all fucking scouts can talk about is how long are your arms. So physically, he looks like he's got the right setup. He was a 1st-team All-Conference, swing tackle flexibility, potential to get stronger, which is insane at 6'7", 318, and long-ass arms. And the issues of concern are mostly correctable, which is like, if that's his weakness, is that, if his weaknesses are not like, or can be coached away, I'm very confident they will be coached away, because Judge seems like the kind of dude who can coach you up. Looking at you, Shermer, you dick. Peart, had a run blocking grade that went from 70.7 in 2018 to 90.1 in 2019. So you can kind of see here, we got two pretty good / elite run blockers with our first two offensive lineman picks. And these are some quotes that I've seen on tape. Peart looks like one of the most athletic tackles in the class. Peart's arms are some of the longest the combine has ever seen. And he trained with Andrew Thomas in Florida during the offseason and considers him a brother. So it's very easy to see why they picked him, because they probably had a lot of discussions, and Gettleman said as much, and Judge, that they had a lot of conversations with Andrew Thomas, which I don't understand why that wasn't like widely reported. It's like, yet again, the media, like, what are you doing? But they probably said, hey, if we want to bring in another offensive tackle, who do you like? And he probably said Peart. So, I mean, you can kind of see that we're like, if these players just play good, average to good in that range, we're looking pretty good for the future. I mean, I know Jones is happy, and I have to imagine that, but Barkley is just like jizzing himself, the fact that he's now there's been significant investments along the offensive line that will probably set him up, will probably influence him to sign that monster contract with the Giants and stick with us for another 4 or 5 years after 2021. But you're looking at, he would be a Giant for 10 years, and I would have to imagine he would break all of Tiki's records. Round 4. So we now went 2 of the 3 first picks. And by the way, that third round pick we had, it was at number 99. So we picked at 4, 36, and then 99. Ugh. What was it? 63 picks. It felt forever. And I think that's when a lot of people started, and myself included, started talking about the Leonard Williams trade. And like, fuck, this is where the Leonard Williams trade really, you start to feel the brunt of it and the weight of it. Because if we hadn't traded for him, we would have had, the fucking top third pick, and maybe we would have got a starting center or a playmaking linebacker or, another position of need, as opposed to going at 99 with an offensive tackle who many are calling a developmental project. And that probably is not a day one starter. I mean, I think with our first 3 picks, a lot of fans were like, we need day one starters. We just need it. That's how like hard up we are. And to have to wait to 99 and then at 99 get, a lot of people wanted an edge rusher. And I'll get to this later, but like, fuck, we need an edge rusher. We need an edge rusher. We need an edge rusher. What about a wide receiver? And it's like, dude, I think you can see in this draft, they're setting up for the future, Okay, so you don't have a lot of day one starters, but you have a lot of talented players who who have similar-ish traits that are not major hurdles to climb. In my mind, they looked at the weaknesses and they said, okay, we can correct those. And if we correct those, we have a bunch of starters, which is all you can ask for. So round 4. And this is where I was dead wrong. I remember, last episode or before that, I was looking at like Walter Football had a mock draft, and they had like the Giants. They're mocking the Giants like fucking, like of their 10 picks or whatever, they had like 4 or 5 corners. And I was like, you're out of your mind. We already have so many goddamn corners. Where are we going to throw bodies at this? And I was dead wrong. Round 4, Darnay Holmes. Oh, was McKinney the one that you know what? I'm an idiot. No, never mind. Round 4, Darnay Holmes, cornerback, UCLA Bruins. projected to go in round 3 or 4. And that's the other thing too, is like every pick so far, I forget who tweeted it, maybe Dan Duggan, but every pick, was a value pick. Guys that weren't supposed to be on the board when they got them. So they got good value. And Darnay Holmes is another example. Had a prospect grade of 5.94, which means that he's most likely a backup / special teamer. Doesn't have tremendous size, 5'10", 195. As a sophomore, he was an honorable mention all conference. Has been described as tough, aggressive, and strong, which that's also another running theme that you'll see amongst a lot of these selections the Giants made is tough, aggressive. He's a slot corner that can come in year 1 and compete for a nickel job. Graduated college in under 3 years. Pretty impressive. Smart and savvy, shows up on the field, can mirror quick slot receivers, has some size and playing strength issues. This is a quote. I forget from who. I think it's Pro Football Focus. Holmes has the tools you love to bet on in round 2. Can't help but think a smooth athlete like him will figure it out sooner rather than later. His jaw-dropping high-end reps had interceptions other cornerbacks simply can't make, and the comparison that PFF made was to Janoris Jenkins. So, pretty interesting. And he's a chess player. So that's so you're seeing the type of player that Joe Judge wants on his team. And he has some pretty awesome quotes, which I hope I can remember. He's like, I think one of them was, I don't want 53 independent contractors. I'm trying to build a team. We're not collecting talent. We're trying to build a team. But you can see the kind of player he wants. Tough, aggressive, smart, football IQ. And then the rest is on him and his coaching staff to coach him up. I'll get to that after we get through all the picks. But round 5, and this one was interesting. And I think a lot of people were surprised they went offensive line again. Hold on one second. Let me try and see if I can open this beer while still talking to y'all, because it's not a twist off. Oh, got it. So I'm now on the Samuel Adams Porch Rocker. It's refreshing and tangy Rattler. Limited release, 4.5% alcohol by volume, 8 IBUs. That's another thing that I found while reading a lot of these like scouting reports. It's like reading fucking Mandarin Chinese or like hieroglyphics. The terminology and the lingo that they use is just out of control. Like tight hips. What? I should do a blog on like all the ridiculous like slang that I see in scouting reports that makes zero sense to the normal football fan. Anyway, Shane Lemieux, a guard for the Oregon Ducks. First Lemieux to ever get drafted. So it was a pretty huge. Prospect grade is 6.17, which is good backup who could become a starter. He did not allow a sack on 457 pass attempts last season. Oh my God. He never missed a game. 52 consecutive starts. Blue collar go-getter that the Giants may view as a long-term option at center. Has tight hips. There it is. And struggles versus speed. Needs protection. L&R. I guess left and right. Tough kid though. So there you see it again. The keywords, the buzzwords, tough, blue collar. And I put out a tweet that said, this pick is not confusing. It's not like it's befuddling. It makes sense. Sure, we have Will Hernandez and Kevin Zeitler, but both of those dudes are unrestricted free agents after the 21 season. And Gettleman has said that Lemieux will compete for a backup guard spot early in his career. He was consistent, reliable in college, and has low-end starter upside. And Joe Judge said that he plans to work Lemieux at guard and center. So you can see what's going on here. Judge is high on players that are flexible and versatile. McKinney can play in the slot, can play deep, can play in the box, blah, blah. Thomas, swing tackle. Peart, swing tackle. Lemieux, center guard. So it's like he likes the ability to move people around and put them in different positions and know that they won't, you're not hurting yourself or the team. So, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Lemieux is our starting center come week one. Odds are, we have Pulley right now. Jalapeno is a free agent, but they might bring him back. And then I guess they even said Nick Gates, who has now been mentioned as like a backup tackle, backup guard, and a backup center. But I really like this pick because even if he's not our starting center, the fact that you have already like provided insurance for the future. So say like after 2021, Zeitler and Hernandez are both free agents. Odds are, I would hopefully they continue to perform at a high level, and you can sign them both. But if you lose one, boom, Lemieux, who at that point would have been a backup for 2 years, watching two of the best do their work. So sure, might not be an immediate contributor right away, but you're gonna love this pick like 2 years down the line. You're gonna be like, whew, what vision from Getty. Round 6, we went outside linebacker Cam Brown from Penn State. He was projected to be 5th round, so this is another value pick. His prospect grade was 5.97, so he's I think that's the equivalent to like a backup special teamer. But Joe Judge probably views him as a developmental traits-based prospect. He's long, as they like to say. 6'5", 233, 34-inch arms, 9.5-inch hands. And he's a leader. Is a takeaway that we got. In looking at what Coach Franklin has said, he's reminiscent of a Lorenzo Carter or a Leonard Floyd, who, a lot of Giants fans wanted us to pick in 2016. Team captain type of guy. So that's another trait that I think Judge really values is, were you a team leader? Did people look up to you in the clubhouse? And Cameron Brown is one of those guys. So again, not a day one starter, but will certainly compete and potentially become a starter in year 3 or 4, which is, great that they're already looking to the future. Because, with these free agent acquisitions and signings, they only got him for like 3 years, and who knows what happens in that 3rd year. So, I mean, they're building a pretty talented roster. And Cameron Brown hates the Cowboys, so you can't ask for more than that. Round 7, we went outside linebacker again, an edge rusher, Carter Coughlin, Minnesota Gophers. He's projected to go in round 6 or 7, so another value pick. Prospect grade was 5.59. So that's equivalent to chance to make end of roster or practice squad. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's going to make the roster. 6'3", 236, so he's a little undersized. He was honorable mention all conference sophomore year and second team all conference junior year, along with being Minnesota's most outstanding defensive player. In 2018, his senior year, he was second team all conference. Again, high football IQ, but below the average size. And I think he's going to surprise some people. I think that's going to be one of the picks we look back and say, wow, I can't believe we got that guy in the 7th round. It will be like almost a Jesse Armstead-esque pick, which is saying a lot. I mean, that's a bold statement, Neal. Jesse Armstead was like a Pro Bowler for 7 goddamn seasons. But I don't know. Something about him. Hit a big junior year. I think he had some like 9.5 or 10 sacks or a lot of sacks junior year. And then I guess senior year, he fell off with his sack totals. But people talk about how we didn't really get the edge rusher we needed at the top day 1 of the draft, day 2 of the draft. You got to give it some time. And I'll get to it. There's a tweet down here that I have. Should I say it now? Yeah, I'll say it now. There's a tweet. I don't know who it's from, and it could probably be very wrong. But Michael Strahan had 3 tackles and a sack his rookie year. Osi Umenyiora had 26 tackles and 1 sack as a rookie. Justin Tuck had 31 tackles and a sack as a rookie. Oshane Ximines had 25 tackles and 4.5 sacks as a rookie. So for all you Giants fans who are saying we don't have one pass rusher on the roster, we're screwed. You got Ximines, and now you got Coughlin, who is related to Tom Coughlin, just not former Giants head coach Tom Coughlin. His grandfather was named Tom Coughlin, who played at Minnesota. So moving on around, we had 4 goddamn picks in round 7, which I honestly, I saw 4 round 7 picks and I was like, we have got to trade up from that. There's no way we do 4 round 7 picks. There's got to be a way that we move up to higher up because, 4 round 7 picks, what are the odds that all those 4 make the squad? I guess what you're hoping for and what a good assessment I saw was, hey, people are concerned that we did not pick every position of need, i.e. like tight end, wide receiver. But we did double down and triple down in some cases on certain positions that were weak. And it's like the thinking behind that is higher probability that one of them will figure it out and be your starter, as opposed to you take a chance on one guy for that one position. If he doesn't work out, it's like, we got to look towards the next draft, which I agree with. I like that. Especially because tight end wasn't like a major area of concern last year in my mind. Wide receiver, maybe. I would have liked to get a wide receiver. That's the one negative I would take from this draft that didn't make it an A for me. It's like a B+, and I think for a lot of people, experts across the board, Giants ended up having like an average of the 16th highest graded draft of the 32 teams. So they're right there in the middle. Above average. I'd say above average. And if they got that wide out, it would have been higher up, A- in my book. But round 7, they went with TJ Brunson at the inside linebacker position from South Carolina. He was projected to be a priority free agent. So they kind of a little bit of a reach. Had a grade of 5.5, which again is a chance to make the end of the roster or practice squad. 6'1", 230. So for inside linebacker, it's I believe that's the same size as like Ogletree and Pierce, I want to say. He was a team captain and most valuable player in 2018. He's built for life inside the box, but not great in man coverage or on stretch plays. And so you can kind of see how they're filling out the roster, Judge and Gettleman. They're saying that even though they are doubling down on certain positions, the people that they're picking at those positions are complementary. So even though Brunson is inside the box, you have someone like Crowder who can play outside the box or what have you. Does that make sense? So like Cam Brown, not necessarily an edge pass rusher. Carter Coughlin, edge pass rusher. And so they're basically drafting to fill out their packages, as Judge calls it, their schemes. There are certain packages that they put on the field. Like the one that comes to mind, top of mind, is the NASCAR package under Spags. where they had Tuck, OC, Strahan, Kiwanuka. Basically 4 defensive ends, edge rushers, no interior defensive linemen, pin back their ears and just have at it on passing downs. That's what they're kind of going for when in this draft. They want to make sure they have a player for every package. That's what she said. What was interesting is that I saw this built for life inside the box, but not great in man coverage or in stretch plays. But when Judge was talking about Brunson, he was saying that he can play. He can play on the outside, or he's good stretching the play. So I don't know. Our 3rd round 7 pick, Chris Williamson, corner from Minnesota, projected to be round 7 or priority free agent. Graded 5.5, 6 foot 205, a big nickel back who can act as an extra linebacker near the line of scrimmage. But this is the one weakness that I had to highlight, has no chance in man coverage against the slot. I've never seen that in any of the, I reviewed a lot of prospect profiles. I've never seen has no chance in one of the profiles, but that's what they had for Williamson. So you got to imagine that he would be probably a good red zone nickelback, I'd have to say. And then our final pick, Mr. Irrelevant, last pick of the draft, Tae Crowder, inside linebacker, Georgia. So you have TJ Brunson, who's a little bit on the smaller side, 6'1", 230, who's built for life inside the box. And then you have Tae Crowder, inside linebacker, at 6'3", 235. Didn't have a grade, not great, and likely needs time in the developmental league, not great. But again, I think Judge looks at that as an opportunity. I will say this: Crowder used to be a running back who transitioned to backer, and he was one of 12 semifinalists for the Butkus Award, which is given to the nation's top linebacker. It's interesting that would happen and then not get a grade and needs to time in developmental league. I mean, he played at Georgia in the SEC, which is like you could say arguably, but it's the best conference that has the most drafted players. So the fact that he's a Butkus Award semifinalist, I think that speaks volumes, and I think that he could be a contributor down the line. But at the very least, a special teamer, So we now have a lot of bodies in the secondary. So you have 3 quarterbacks. And I as soon as I saw how many cornerbacks we have, I was like, I don't think everyone's going to make from this draft class is going to make this team. So, but if they do, where are we going to release people? Where are we going to make some cuts? I think there's a potential for Wayne Gallman not making the team. I think we have a lot of tight ends now, so probably looking at 2 probably not making the final roster. I mean, our offensive line looks pretty good outside of the center position. Solder, Peart, Hernandez, Zeitler, Lemieux, Fleming, Thomas, and then Gates and Pulley. I mean, those are 9 pretty decent players. I think you probably want to upgrade at the center position, but who knows what Lemieux can do, given the opportunity. So, again, I think they've taken a step in the right direction. They're better than the year before. But here's the corner. I mean, it's crowded at the cornerback position. I've put Love I grouped Love with the safeties. But who knows? I mean, he's basically like a corner / safety. And that's what's so beautiful about our safeties. Peppers, McKinney, Love. all three of those dudes can play in the box, can play in the slot, and can play deep, in my opinion. But the corners, Bradbury and Baker, I guess, are your two starters. Holmes will compete for the slot corner because, I mean, we didn't really have a good slot corner last year. I mean, Haley was great against the run, good tackler, got beaten coverage all the time. Ballentine and Beal, I guess they're on the hot seat because they did not perform well. Although Beal came on late and was actually splitting time with Baker towards the end of the season. So who knows if Baker is the starter? And then you have Williamson too. So Holmes competing for the slot corner with, I guess, Haley and Ballentine. Beal competing with Baker for the start for corner 2. And then Williamson, I guess, will also be a potential nickel / linebacker. I don't know. Michael Thomas signed with the Texans. Antonio Hamilton is gone. So, but still a lot of bodies. And we now have 10 linebackers for what I would assume to be 8 spots. Am I reading that wrong? I mean, you have to assume that Brunson and Crowder are the odd men out, but Fackrell are outside of the backers. Fackrell, Carter, Zimenez, Brown, Coughlin. Inside backers, Martinez, Connolly, Mayo, Brunson, Crowder. So it's 10 backers. I don't know that you're really going to I would say you carry 8. So if I had to guess, Brunson and Crowder are probably out. But then again, who knows? Maybe Coughlin's the odd man out amongst the outside backers. I don't know. I got a strange feeling about Coughlin, though. I think he might make the team over Brown. Call me crazy. And then our D linemen, Williams, Hill, McIntosh, Tomlinson, Lawrence, Johnson. It's a pretty good defensive line. So, and then we had a bunch of undrafted free agents that we picked up. Running back from Maryland, 2 wideouts from Ohio State, Ben Victor and Austin Mack. Another wideout from LSU, Derek Dillon. Kyle Murphy, an interior offensive lineman from Rhode Island. 2 edge rushers, Dana Levine, and Nico Lelos. And then another cornerback. Yay. So who knows? Maybe one of those wideouts would actually make the team. It was a deep draft at wideout, so even though probably need to do some research on them, but you'd have to imagine that. I mean, LSU and Ohio State, nothing to sneeze at.